happy to be here. And I always just love hearing Eddie talk. His accent just like it's like a lullaby.
Ah, cool. Well, I'll take that. It's all fake. So
Oh,
just, yeah, I'm really from Nebraska, and I just put it on. So, um, so hey, Nicole, it's so as I said, it's kind of great to have you here. Can you give us a kind of breakdown of like you've a very large team and stuff, so you cover a big area. Can you kind of talk about kind of the areas you cover and that kind of stuff, so we can kind of get a sense of what we'll be talking about today?
yep. So I covered Napa and Solano. So I described Solano as that little corridor of 80 between San Francisco and Sacramento that you usually stop at the Chick-fil-A on your way to Tahoe.
Yeah.
That's what most people know about Solano
I
County.
actually turn off at Vacaville and get on to 505 because I'm trying to get to the five. So
Exactly. So
yeah.
that's the northernmost part of my territory that I cover. And I have kind of a J-shaped area that we cover, geographically speaking, especially when I'm talking to the 7x7 San Francisco folks. We cover a large territory. So from Solano coming over into Napa, we cover the eastern portion of Sonoma County. So that's the Petaluma and Sonoma cities, and then all
Okay,
of
cool.
Napa.
Okay, cool. So and then what are some of the big so the towns for Solano would be Winters, Vacaville,
Fairfield
Vallejo,
and Vallejo. Yep.
or as the Irish like to say, Valley Joe.
Hey,
So
that's actually funny because a lot of locals call it Valley Joe.
Valley Joe, yeah, it's like they go to visit Tahui. I want to go see Tahui and Yosemite. So uh, perfect. So can you like right now where we've got a lot of people who are kind of coming to us who are like thinking of either getting a second home or actually relocating into your area of the world, is what's the market like in Napa and Solano at the moment?
It is busier than I have personally ever seen. I, think back to 2014 when I thought that it couldn't get any busier, right? And we kind of tapered off. And now I'm back to working 7 days a week, which I haven't done since 2014. It's so busy, buyers and sellers. What I'm seeing is, as the buyers are coming up from your area, the city, Silicon Valley, my clients, my sellers are moving to Idaho, Utah, Arizona, all of those places that, the mindset of the San Francisco, Silicon Valley person thinks about Napa. The napkins kind of take it the next step and they look for cleaner air, that type of
And
thing.
interestingly enough, I read an article recently, and of the expats from California, Idaho is the biggest one. So, and then after Idaho, it's like Oregon and then Washington State and then other kind of areas. But Idaho was the biggest.
Yeah,
So,
they're very business friendly. So a lot of tech companies are moving there, it's attracting that young, the young
uh,
crowd.
yeah. So, and it's quite a cool. I did a road trip up through there last summer, and it was quite cool. We really enjoyed it going into Montana. So can you, if you have somebody who's kind of value oriented, what kind of marketplaces would like? Because you get into Napa, you're going to get some pretty specialized stuff, and it's going to get fairly pricey. But I'm sure there's some pockets in Napa where you could get some deals that people would may not know about. Like what would those kind of geographic scenarios be?
Yeah, so the city of Napa, it's so different, even mile to mile, neighborhood to neighborhood. I think that most people who come up here to wine taste and to go, experience the restaurants never see parts of Napa, and they would have no
Hmm.
reason to, right? Because it's
Hmm.
just neighborhoods.
Hmm.
And those are a little bit more affordable. They're typically, your 3-4 bedroom, 2,800 square foot cookie cutter homes, but it gets you into Napa.
Hmm.
And the price per square foot is about $150 less than the ones on the beaten path, so to speak. And that area is, when speaking wine, it's considered the Carneros area. But it's a lovely little area called Browns Valley, but not to be confused with the Browns Valley in Vacaville, because there's a
Okay.
Browns Valley in Vacaville too.
And is that not, I don't want to be in Browns Valley in Vacaville, or it's okay to be
If
there?
you want to be in Browns Valley and Vacaville, and you like, chain restaurants and outlet malls and really hot summers, everybody in Vacaville has a pool. It's pretty hot there.
Great. So get that inland heat that it's the summertime here now in San Francisco, and I have my jacket and everything. I came to work with my puffy jacket. So so when what about, say, investors, somebody who's looking for maybe a rental, like a single family home rental, or a 2 to 4 unit kind of building. Are there good marketplaces for that?
There really are. Anytime a multi-unit comes on the market here in Napa, if it hits the market, because we're not clear cooperation, which you know what that means, but for anyone listening that
Yeah.
does, it means that we can still market off market. But if it gets to the market here, it flies. So, the good thing is, working with top realtors like myself, we hear about those coming soon before anyone else. And what we're seeing is the ones that are coming up are in that downtown area. So what an investor needs to know about that downtown area is a lot of those homes were built in the 1800s, which probably doesn't seem scary to you coming from San Francisco, but the 1800s in Napa versus the 1800s in San Francisco is very different. So there's going to be a lot of ongoing maintenance. And a lot of those homes have also, they started as single family and they've been cut into multi-unit.
And then they got chopped up. And then there's going to be brick foundations, and if there's even foundations in certain parts of them, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. It's very popular here to take single family homes and lift them and make them 2 stories. So we're building up. That's pretty popular downtown. So we're seeing multi-unit top and bottom.
And is that easy to do within your planning departments and that kind of stuff? Because
It
that
is.
it's
It's a walk in
difficult
the
here.
park compared to San Francisco. And I have personal experience with, the city of Oakland and the city of San Francisco. So if that's your mindset of tackling a project, then coming here, you're just going to think that, it's easy peasy. It's basic math versus calculus.
Yeah. So when you talk about the cost per square foot changing, like what would one have to expect for true wine country kind of scenario of a cost per square foot on a single family with a bit of a yard, like some sort of a lot? And is there a good or a motivating price differential to go to a condo or a townhome? What would that area command? What kind of range?
So your typical single family, kind of off that beaten trail, like I talked about, you're going to be priced in the 400 to 500, sometimes up into the 600 for smaller homes per square foot. And then as you're getting more into true wine country, some of those more single story ranch style homes that, have that modern farmhouse that everybody's loving right now, those can be priced up to $1,200 per square foot. So there really is a huge difference for not much of a difference in square footage, just more the vibe, the neighborhood, the style of home.
Yeah. So that's you're getting into San Francisco pricing when you get into that true wine country.
Yeah,
pricing.
especially as we continue up valley, and what we consider up valley is, north of Napa, where you get into Yountville, St. Helena, and Calistoga. The price per square foot just gets more and more the more north you go. So even getting into Hillsburg pricing gets, sometimes up to the 1,500 a square foot.
Wow. And then in what about you for years? Many years, like in the financial downturn, Valley Joe look like a place to buy a bargain. Where are values in that marketplace? Because I know a lot of investors have been kind of flocking to that locale for a few years, and what does it look like there?
Investors love Valley Joe.
Yeah.
It's it's the price per square foot compared to the rents that you can command are just completely inverted. Like you can get a $120 per square foot fixer upper that just needs some cosmetic work and then turn it around with very minimal work, no permits. And I'm not going on the record saying you should not get permits. Vallejo just
You did not hear it here. She did not say that.
I didn't say that, but Vallejo doesn't police it. In fact, I've gone into the city of Vallejo to pull permits, owner-occupied permits for some of my own properties, and they just said, we're too busy, just do the work. So it's a very interesting area. And then in addition to, the price per square foot that you can get and then turning it around and commanding huge rents, there's no rent control here. So to get a tenant out on an eviction costs you $500 and maybe 30 days. And you're not paying relocation fees. So you can imagine why investors really like that.
So if you get a bad tenant who's really trashing the property and causing problems in the neighborhood, you can actually get that tenant out
very easily, very easily.
Right.
And it's all relative. You compare it to the Ellis Act, in the Bay Area versus here, you give them 3-day notice to pay or quit. 30 days later, they're out. So very, very lucrative area for investors. Also, there's a historic area of Vallejo that's actually walking or biking distance to the ferry that's becoming very popular. A lot of people are coming from the city and moving into Vallejo, especially, the younger crowd that can't quite afford that up Valley Napa pricing, and they love the character and the charm of the historic district of Vallejo. And it really is kind of an isolated neighborhood. There's a lot of things around it that you may not want to, walk through, but once you're inside the neighborhood, it's pretty insular. And people are buying owner occupied there.
Wow, cool. And then there's the whole ferry network that a lot of people are some of the tech companies. Does Facebook do a ferry that picks up? I think Facebook does a ferry that maybe picks up at that ferry point.
Richmond, the new
Point
ferry.
Richmond.
The new ferry service there.
Okay. So, and then out of curiosity, so like a two unit kind of property or a 3-unit property in Vallejo would be in what kind of price point, like 500 to 600?
You could get a duplex for 600, which is really crazy to think that if we would have been doing this exact same Zoom 2 years ago, I would have said 300 to 400.
Wow.
It has just completely gone crazy. And again, it goes back to in 2014 when I thought it couldn't be any crazier. But you can still get a pretty decent fourplex for under $1 million.
Wow. And then what type of rents would a 2-bed, 1-bath kind of unit get in that area?
So for a 2-1, you're going to see rents, depending on the area and, the amenities and things like that. If there's yard space, you can get $1,500 to $2,500. Some of the more single family 2-1s that, either detached multiple units or actual family homes, you can command up to $2,800, $3,000.
Wow. So to kind of shift gears a little bit, what Petaluma is a location that we get because it's right over, it's kind of across the border from Marin, and we get a lot of people in San Francisco who will go, they kind of have a choice if they're moving out of the city. They're like, do I want to go down the peninsula? Do I want to go north, or do I want to go east?
Mm-hmm.
So they're, the people who work downtown tend to go east because they can get on BART and that kind of stuff and come into the city. People who work on the peninsula to shorten the commute tend to go down the peninsula sometimes. Or you'll get some people who, if they're in different areas of the city, they'll go north. And Petaluma has always been, it's super, I think it's a lovely town, and there seems to be a great selection of kind of property types that you can get there. And it seems like it's gone through a lot of growth in the last few years. What would you have anything to add in on that, or tell us kind of more about that particular spot?
Definitely. Petaluma is one of those, for me personally, like shoulda, coulda, woulda markets where when things were really cheap, not even too long ago, I wish I would have bought a few homes, like just a few, just, whatever I had to do, sell my firstborn to get in there. But I don't think anyone really predicted how cool it would be to live in Petaluma in 2020. It's one of those towns where it's got a country vibe, right? But it's got a lot of city amenities. It's got the best sushi in, I think, Napa Sonoma area. And, I'm a sushi person, so I will drive out of Napa to Petaluma for sushi. It's got, things that we can't get in Napa as far as cuisine. We're very French, American, Italian here. But if you want anything Asian, Southeast Asian, European, you got to go to Petaluma. So it's got all of these like amazingly cool restaurants. And we're seeing a lot of artists move into Petaluma. I think it almost has like a downtown Berkeley vibe to it, not like the actual downtown of like Shattuck and that area, but like the more like historic area. It's got that kind of vibe when you walk around, and I think it's attracting a lot of cool artists. And so we're seeing little like art studios pop up. I mean, it's just gone really crazy as far as price and popularity.
Cool. And that neighborhood, like Petaluma, to get a detached 2-level single family home, we're probably talking in about the 800s and higher now, right? Because
the nail on the head for sure. There's some neighborhoods that are pre-war where you've got shorter ceilings and things like that probably need some updates where you can get in at 600 or 700, but for the most part you're looking at 800 plus.
I've always wondered about that. Have we gotten taller in the last 60 years? Like, what's with the shower that's like right here? You're standing in and it shoots on, like, I don't get, and the really low ceilings, it's just...
Some of us still fit in that, Eddie.
Yeah.
Everything was closed off too. Like they had kitchens that had doors, like you'd go in the kitchen and shut the door. Like it's so different.
Yeah, totally. Or you go into a kitchen that's the galley kitchens, it's just like a closet, it's like, yeah, you don't really need to eat, just go into the closet there and prep something. So cool. Well, what about, is there anything like that you like to, when you get somebody like a newbie coming out of San Francisco who kind of is sitting down and asking for your expertise and your insights and stuff, what type of stuff do you try get people up to speed on?
So I like to get to know the person before we even start talking about homes, because Eddie, you probably know this, but I moved up here from Silicon Valley, San Francisco. Like I'm a city girl by heart, love San Francisco, would have probably never left.
Well, you were a corporate, was it HP, or who did you originally work for? Cisco. Yeah, I knew it was one of the big techs. So,
so I mean, coming up here was like shock, right? Like I always knew, oh, we're moving to the country, but when I got here, I didn't realize like it really is country here. I have to say now I am a country girl. I've got chickens. We've got a worm farm. Like I've really adapted, but I still feel like I'm still a city girl at heart. I have to do my monthly visit, and my husband hates the concrete jungle, as he calls it. But I like to make sure that people know what they're moving to and what they want out of living in wine country. Like if they want to still be able to have those city amenities, like I was mentioning, you can parallel Petaluma to like walking around downtown Berkeley and still walk into restaurants while walking around. Versus if you go to areas like North Napa, you're gonna have to have a car. Like you just have to. Probably both want a car if you're married, husband and wife get 2 cars. So you're buying a house and 2 cars. So I really want to like understand what they want out of living in wine country.
Yeah.
Are there, oh, sorry, Eddie.
No, go ahead, Haley. I've been hogging the mic here.
We have some clients that have been doing the now cliche, like get out of the city, want the yard and maybe a pool and whatnot. Looking all over Sonoma and Napa Valley, and it seems that there are some norms that come with buying real estate there that we don't have here, and vice versa. Like, we have certain odd things that we deal with in San Francisco, or like ordinances in the East Bay, like sewer lateral and sidewalk and stuff like that. And I was actually just talking to another one of our colleagues up in Sonoma Valley, Sonoma County, and she said that there's a lot of stuff that people don't consider, like septic tanks and fires. So what are the things that people need to read up on and like understand before they really commit to buying a home out there?
Yes. So funny, one of my colleagues in the city with Compass, she's actually buying a home in the North Bay. And she called me about 2 weeks ago and said, Nicole, what is a septic tank? I was like, you have to be kidding me, right? And this is a city girl. She actually didn't even know where Vallejo was. Funny, same woman that we're talking about. She asked me where Vallejo was. Born and raised city girl. So people don't know.
Out there.
Yeah,
Right there somewhere.
really?
There's a ferry goes there. Yes.
Do not listen to rap.
Yeah.
She literally, in all honesty, super smart woman. And she's like, what's a septic? They're telling me about this leach something. And she just couldn't wrap her mind around the fact that there was no sewer hookups. So there's that to consider. We also have water, well water, and a lot of parts of Napa are what we call groundwater deficient. So you're going to be in a drought area. So if your dream is to come up here and have a garden and you're, on well and, you need it to shower and you've only got enough gallons per minute to shower the family and cook your dinner, you're not going to have that garden. And that happens a lot in the northern Napa area. So well water versus SID water. One thing that I learned when I moved here, because I have littles, is that Napa actually doesn't have fluoride in their water either. So if you have littles, you have to do fluoride supplements. So
Wow.
a lot of water related things. And I think that people also bring up fear of fire. There are a lot of fire areas around here, but I think that there's a perception when Napa was on fire, like all of Napa was on fire. And really it's not. It's definitely more of those like country areas, fewer and far, homes. You got big giant acre lots with homes. So it's not that better neighborhood that's on fire.
Yeah. What about getting hazard insurance? How has that changed? Has that gotten more difficult?
Yeah, fire insurance is tough. And it, for first time home buyers or people who are coming up here that were renters previously and, they are, expecting a certain budget, that can really throw them off when they see how much fire insurance and hazard insurance can be. And then we also have a few flood zones around here that's mandatory flood insurance as well, which isn't too bad. It's regulated by FEMA.
It's regulated by FEMA, but the lender probably changes their product and their rate a little bit if you're in a flood zone, would they? Or can you still get the same lending product?
Yeah, they do have required lender flood insurance. You have to insure the lender's loan as well as, the home itself. And then some products, depending on if you're getting a jumbo versus conventional versus FHA, because we're a huge FHA up here because our little tiny county loan limit is so low that a lot of people just have to go FHA for a smaller down payment. But they do increase the rate sometimes.
Does Napa get the zip codes for the West Coast kind of higher jumbo conforming, like the 765 on single families, or is it from zip code to zip code in that county?
It's countywide. So
it's
Napa,
countywide. Okay.
Yeah, Napa and then Sonoma and Solano all have different jumbo requirements, which can get very confusing if you have people looking in two different areas, because from Napa to Sonoma, there's a $60,000 difference in the loan limits, which can be huge. If you're looking in Napa at $700,000 and you go to Sonoma, you have to adjust your budget down by about $50,000 or $60,000.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. And does that translate in pricing in between those two counties? Not really.
No, not at all.
Mm.
We're very lucky
Uh,
that the past 4 years, they've increased the loan limits year over year for, believe it or
yeah,
not, it was in the 400s for a really long time, which is
yeah.
crazy. So
Well,
yeah,
in a lot of ways, I think it originally, for us here, it originally shifted after the financial crisis. And in a lot of ways, it was going from 415 or 417 back then. It was what really got us out of kind of getting inventory moved during the financial crisis, because it opened up a whole loan product that allowed people to kind of access with low down payments and stuff. So yeah.
Speaking about that, in terms of the little experience I've had up there now, I've just heard anecdotally from agents up in Napa that the last 6 months have really changed with regards to like the terms of offers and the amount of offers. I've seen things that have gone on the market for 6 days and they come on a Thursday and they set the offer date for Sunday or Monday, which is increasingly hard with the way that we have to show property now. So in terms of like down here where there's a high frequency of waiving a lot of contingencies and getting it as short as possible for escrow, are you seeing that that is changing from wherever it was?
yeah, definitely, like huge. I would say that if you asked, a Napa agent to waive contingencies 2 years ago, they would have tried to turn you into the board. Now, and I think a lot of this comes from Bay Area agents bringing buyers in rather than referring them and having that mindset of having to do that. It opened up Napa, Solano, Sonoma agents to, oh, this is kind of a norm. It's not illegal or unethical, because you don't know what you don't know. But I've been playing ball in the Bay Area for a long time, so I've always kind of gone in strong. But we are seeing, shorter contingency timelines, very rarely waiving contingencies unless it is that real second home buyer coming from San Francisco with cash. But people are very appraisal sensitive here. They kind of use it as a standard versus, if it doesn't appraise, it's okay. It's my equity. So they're very sensitive to that appraisal and they kind of stick to it.
And what are we in general, our stable of appraisers in San Francisco tend to consistently turn out quality reports. So we rarely run into appraisal issues, but there are marketplaces where it's the Wild West, and you can have some cowboys riding in on donkeys who can really blow up a deal. Is that a concern that happens in the area, or is there
Yeah,
a fairly good
it happens
stable?
a lot, especially in Solano County because it is kind of a central location. When the AMC, sends it out, we could get someone coming from Modesto, we could get someone coming from Sacramento. We don't really see people coming up this way, but usually like they can't get orders that pay enough in those, lower price point areas.
So they
They're
jump on the orders.
Yeah, they're driving and, they come in and they don't know the difference between, Green Valley versus Fairfield, Cordelia versus Fairfield, why buyers are willing to pay for a 10 out of 10 school versus, sending them to a bad public school or having to pay $30,000 in tuition. So we do get that a lot. I'm pretty good about
That must make your
them.
process as a listing agent kind of harder, because you're trying to vet them coming through, right?
Yeah. Well, I usually try to vet the lender up front. I ask them if they have a panel or if they use an AMC. If they use an AMC, if they have, direct access to be able to communicate with that AMC effectively. Because if I get a 209 area code, which is that Modesto area, and I ask them if they know the area and they can't answer my questions, I will set the appointment and immediately call the lender and ask them to reassign it.
Yes. Yeah. There was a period of time where we had to do that in San Francisco, but thankfully we've gotten away from that now. Yeah, you probably have to pull lock boxes off your property and stuff too to just stop them from showing up and everything, right? Because they do
Yeah.
that as well. Yeah, yeah. Well,
They're regulated by, I believe, the Department of Business Oversight, I think, but they really have no sort of accountability. So like if they do something like go into an occupied property without an appointment, I can't call anybody. You know, I can call them and yell at them, but like there's really no oversight with them. It's really unfortunate.
yeah, no, it is. It's crazy. And interestingly enough, through another conversation, there's I think one of the spouses of the founders of Google owns a company that basically it's a company that owns like 90% of the appraisal management companies in the US. And they are just, and everybody's like wondering what are they doing, and it's a data gathering tool, really. Yeah. But anyway, I'm digressing. So Haley, what have we not learned from Nicole that we should be learning or we need to ask?
You know, I just keep thinking from like our buyers' perspective, our clients that either own here and looking for second homes, or that are shopping for their first place, and just kind of like being a little bit shocked that they have to compete. They thought that they wouldn't have to compete like they do in the city. And, you know, facing these multiple offers, you know, I've seen a lot of cash up there, not a lot, but like multiple instances of cash up there. And, you know, it's an adjustment. And I guess, you know, you answered a lot of my questions about the norms. You know, I think it's like really important for us to be able to relay that to clients who are going out there.
It is.
So,
I mean, it's ever changing too. I mean, I feel like when I started doing business in Napa, there was definitely the old guard here. And there still is, you know, the average age of my peer is at least twice my age. And they have their certain ways of doing things, as we all do, but they're not necessarily open to receiving offers or receiving things that are, you know, not their way. So it can be difficult for out of area agents to acclimate to that. And then also for out of area buyers who are used to, you know, their norm, to understand that we have to be flexible, but in ways that you're not just throwing money at it.
Sure.
Yeah. It's funny how when marketplaces kind of open up, the old guard that have been in, they don't like all the change that can kind of come with that. So if we were trying to get in touch, how does the world find Nicole Solari, where we can go online and we can find you at Level Up? And is it straightlevelup.com?
Levelupbrokerage.com.
Levelupbrokerage.com.
We're easy
Perfect.
there.
And
you can always Google me. There's 2 Nicole Solaris. One of them is a lender in Texas. That's not me. And there's me.
Are you checking in on her all the time? Being like,
I am.
When are you going to retire? You need to retire. So, or maybe you could ask her if she could maybe get married and change her name. Excellent. And then you're with your team and the size of your team and stuff like that, you are quite the expert, and you're able to help in all those areas. Do you go into Sonoma at all, or is it just Napa? Because that's 2 counties is a lot.
It is. Well, it was Solano and Napa, but then we do the eastern part of Sonoma, which is that Petaluma, Sonoma area. Once it starts going more towards the coast, it really becomes more rural and more specific. And, you know, I don't like to, you know, encroach on other people's territories. Again, the old guard.
Yeah.
But we're experts in eastern Sonoma, Napa, and Solano.
So, well, we actually have somebody who's asking about a 2 to 4 unit building in Sonoma. Would that be something that we would be able to connect you with? Just that's something that's immediately in my back pocket that I was thinking about talking to you about today. So
absolutely, it's easier to get a 2 to 4 in Sonoma than in Napa right now. So it's good that they're looking in that area, and the rents are great, really
Perfect.
good.
We can talk offline on that one. Perfect. Well, this has been awesome. We usually kind of wrap up here with kind of giving a little bit of a market update on our own kind of marketplace. So it'd be fun to kind of have you chime in on some of the stuff we have going on here, if any of it catches you by surprise, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're putting me on the spot here to pull my numbers now.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm like, Haley.
Give me elevator
on
music for like 2 seconds.
Data. So, hey, tell me a little bit, because you decided, I remember, to get out of corporate America to move up closer to your husband's family in Solano County. Wasn't that what originally you made the move? And you stopped kind of working altogether. So that must have been like a major shock to the system, right?
It was actually, I think it was a major shock to my husband, because every day when he would come home from work, the house would either be repainted or reorganized or completely different. And finally, he's like, you either need a hobby or a job. You can't keep doing this.
And then how did you land upon real estate? Were you, did you kind of, like, it was something that you were drawn to, and you wanted to get involved? Or were you kind of looking for maybe an investment and you were shocked at how bad some of the agents were? Because I've met many people who that has been a big motivating factor for them to get in. So
it has, yeah. And in all honesty, no, I've never, can honestly say I was never interested in real estate. I mean, it's definitely a passion of mine now, but I've always been a numbers person, corporate world, people, but my husband actually suggested it. So I told him I was when he told me to get a hobby or a job, I told him I was gonna go back to school and get my teaching credentials and become a teacher. And he said, no, can't do that. He comes from a family of educators, mom and dad in the school system. His sisters are professors, and he's like, we have enough educators, at the Thanksgiving table. He's like, well, why don't you do real estate? And I was like, what, really? So I studied up, and I actually took my licensing exam on my due date. So I went in, and I was literally ready to pop. I couldn't even sit at the chair.
No way.
Screens are in, down in the table, so it's electronic now. I had to ask for special accommodations to take my test standing.
Oh my God.
No way. So you ended up having to do it standing on your due date. And how late was did it come in the next week, or how late were?
Yeah, he was stubborn, just like his mom and dad. So I was 2 weeks after that, I went into labor for 3 days.
Wow. So
oh my God.
That's and you passed. So nothing like all you have to do is just for Nicole is put in a little bit of pressure and she comes out on top. So I love it. So, and then that was back in how old is that kid now?
6. So I've been in the business 6.5 years now.
Wow, excellent. And it's amazing how much you've grown. Like your Level Up Real Estate is quite a fantastic setup. How many are on your team now? There's at least 10 or 12, right?
We have 5 buyer's agents that work, on my team as buyer's agents. And because I previously owned my own brokerage, we had independent agents. So they came over to side Level Up with us. And there's 5 of those as well. And then we have our staff.
And then the staff, yeah. It's a great setup and great coverage. And then the beauty of all our connections where being independent real estate companies, we're just able to give that Johnny on the spot kind of high level of service and attention. So it's great. So Haley, was that a good interlude to
yes, thank you so much.
to get the numbers up?
It only took me 2 seconds. Just need 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
So this week, since last Thursday, we have 74 single families that came on the market. I'm sorry, 73, and only 5 of those are under $1 million. One of which is $995, $925. So the least expensive single family right now listed is $698. Well, the one that came on this week came on today. It's in Hunters Point. And then we had 150 new condos and TICs at the market this week.
And that's how much we had 160 last week. So
yeah, so currently active on the market in all of San Francisco, we have 362 single family homes. And then condos, there are currently 882 active condos.
and that doesn't count the new inventory because they're not in the MLS.
Right.
So,
And there are 109 TICs.
109 TICs.
So a lot of condo
and
choices.
And then on the sales end of stuff, what in single families, how many closed last week? If we have 70 coming into the market, how many went out?
We had, 49 close.
49. So we're almost getting out everything that's coming in. Whereas if you go and you do it for the condo, it's where for us, Nicole, it's like right now we're only moving about a third of the condo inventory for the amount of inventory that's coming in. So
yeah, 32 condos closed this week.
32 condos closed and 150 came in.
Yeah.
So, and last week it was about 50 condos closed and 160 came in. So we're really getting buried in inventory for condos.
Mm-hmm.
Is that directly related to COVID because people aren't coming and buying condos in San Francisco as, you know,
there's a number of factors. I think a lot of them are COVID related. There's people who are living in larger buildings who've had to shelter in place in a building where none of the amenities are now usable. And they're Haley's like, that's me.
Got a pool, but I haven't seen it in here, you know?
Yeah. And then, you know, there's, and some of those buildings, they don't have any outdoor space for themselves and they have to share an elevator to get into their unit.
I can imagine some of those that's really scary.
Yeah. And then there's been a lot of investors have purchased in those buildings. Like a lot of this inventory really is coming from the kind of Soma, South Beach, Mission Bay areas. And there's tenants who are moving out. We've had rentals that in larger units in other parts of the city that are renting quite quickly because there's tenants moving from those areas to, you know, these areas where they have their own front door, they have access to an easy park or a backyard or something like that. And so a lot of the owners of those units are putting them on the market. So that rental scenario is creating inventory. And then there's no people coming, you know, no recruits coming into work for all of the big employers. And then, you know, we also deal with a lot of recruits coming in for all of the ancillary industries that, you know, make a living off of these big companies like Google and Facebook and Cisco and, you know, Twitter and all of those ancillary. Nobody's really bringing anybody in. And so, you know, those buyers aren't around. And
there's opportunity.
There's opportunity. We actually have people now who, like we have some clients who already own up in kind of wine country. They've been sheltering in place in the up there and are thinking, why the hell am I holding on to this property, single family in San Francisco when I can sell and just buy a pied-à-terre condo? Because I can get a great price for selling my single family because that's where the demand is, and I can get a really great price on the purchase end for a condo on the other end. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds for that kind of downsizer buyer. So yeah, it's kind of a magic market for that kind of buyer. But cool. But out of curiosity, Haley, can you tell us what one or two of our most exciting overbids of the week were before we wrap it up?
Give me 2 more seconds, then absolutely.
Morris in there. And this is, we have a way of, if anybody wants to get access, Nicole, if you would like access to this report, it's, we can put you on it. It goes out every, either Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning. And you can kind of see what the biggest overbids were, what the biggest underbids were for the week just gone by, and some stuff like that.
Looks like this week, 1222 43rd Ave in the Outer Sunset was a single family, just about 1,100 square feet, just under, and it was a 2-1, and it was listed for $949, sold for $1,341, so that's 41% over.
41, so 400K over.
And then another one.
Does that happen? Does that happen in your marketplace, Nicole, where something will go 400K over?
Nope, definitely not. I think that would make the paper.
Yeah, it's just
weekly here.
It's just a weekly scenario here. It's
unbelievable.
kind of insane. Insane. Well, this has been amazing. Again,
thank you so much, Nicole.
Yeah, you rock, and you are our go-to for the Napa and Solano County areas, and it's great to have you, and we really appreciate you. And again, what's the website? How do we find you? And we can reach out to you directly, right?
Absolutely. You can totally reach out to me directly. All my info is on levelupbrokerage.com, but I'm, best with email and text. So Nicole@levelupbrokerage.com, and my cell phone, which is, I think I've missed like 15 calls, so bear with me.
In the mail, we need to get you off so you can go deal with that.
Anytime.
Perfect. So you don't have to share that right now. Let's send them to your website, so we don't have anybody burning up your phone, because I know what that's like.
If you could stop all the spammers from calling, I think my life would be a little less stressful.
Yeah, are these companies who are trying to sell me crap services faking me out with a local number? So, they're the ones that really drive me crazy. So, and it's unfortunate for the people who do actually have like numbers from unusual areas, because I never answer those calls because I'm like, it's somebody's going to try pitch something that I don't want.
Yeah, that's me. I won't give it up. I just won't.
Yeah. Well, how do when we're lost and dark in the woods, how do people find us, Haley?
elevationrealestate.com, elevation SF on Instagram. Sorry, elevation RE. I always do that. And you can just search Elevation Real Estate on Google and find us.
All right. This has been awesome.
Thank
Nicole,
you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You rock. And we're looking forward. I think you'll be speaking at the Evolution event on Tuesday, right? So
That's
we'll get to see you there. Looking forward
cool.
to that. All right.
Thanks, guys.
It's been awesome. Rock on. Bye.
Bye.